All right, my dear BIBLEin365 family. First of all, I just want to talk about how much of a privilege and an honor it is to give you guys some teachings and some summaries throughout the Bible. I cannot wait to bring a lot more to you. I don't know if you remember this, but when I gave you the summary of the book of Mark, I said that I would be doing a devotion or two regarding maybe a difficult passage in Mark. And of course, that I would also talk about the fact that there would be demonstrations provided for you with regard to the fact that Mark placed an emphasis on the actions of Christ rather than the words of Christ. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that Mark records here that Jesus actually said, but of course, the emphasis was on his action. So I thought I would kill two birds with one stone and show you how that's demonstrated here in the book of Mark by going over a very difficult passage, because this is a passage that a lot of people ask about. So let me read it from the very beginning. This is kind of interesting. This is Mark chapter 11. This is verse 12. This is regarding the cursing of the fig tree. It says this, it says, "Now the next day when they had come out of Bethany, he was hungry." It's referring to Jesus, right? "And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. In response, Jesus said to it, 'Let no one eat fruit from you ever again.' And his disciples heard it, so they came to Jerusalem." Now, of course, when they go to Jerusalem, we see a very vivid description of what Jesus actually did in Jerusalem, as it speaks about the fact that he turned over the tables. It says here that he went and turned over the tables. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And this is kind of an interesting thing, because if you want to get an insight on how wicked of a practice this actually was, what would happen is people would go to worship the Lord, right? And part of the action that they would do when they would go to the temple is, in worshiping the Lord, they would actually come in and say, "Listen, we don't have what is necessary to be able to sacrifice in the temple." So the Lord always made provision for them to bring doves. They could sacrifice the doves in the temple, and God would make that an acceptable sacrifice because it was a lot less expensive and it was affordable to people who couldn't afford to do that. So people would come with their doves, and the priests would see people with their doves and say, "Oh, no, these won't work. They're not ordained by the temple." And so the priests would say, "Okay, well, give us your doves. We'll keep them, and then we'll give you the ordained ones, but you're going to have to pay an extra fee to get the ordained ones." And then, of course, when they would go to pay with Roman money, then of course the priests would say, "Well, that money isn't working because it's not holy money," so they would have to go to the money changer table. So if it cost them $5, they would give $8 to get $5 of the holy money. Then they'd go to the holy money and pay it. Complete scheme, complete scam, totally evil. So Jesus saw that these people were capitalizing on the fact that people wanted to worship God, and he turned over the tables. He didn't say, "Stop it, this is evil." He just pretty much put an end to it. And of course, this is a great example of how Christ's actions always oftentimes spoke very vividly, and Mark gives a great example of that. And then at the end of that, notice this: as they were walking away, as the evening approached, the Bible tells us that when the evening had come, he went out of the city. Now in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. So of course, when Jesus cursed the fig tree died, and then they basically observed that. They went to Jesus and they said, "Wow, man, you cursed it and it's withered away." And then Jesus goes to them and says, "Have faith in God." So why did Jesus curse the fig tree? And then why would Jesus say, "Have faith in God," after they could see evidence of the fact that the fig tree was cursed? Well, I think from the very beginning, the fig tree was cursed. Not that Christ had to curse it, but he did. And as a result of that cursing, it was destroyed. But let me just simply say this: the tree had leaves. The tree actually appeared to have fruit. There was an outside appearance of fruit, but there was no fruit. The tree simply looked good, but did not live that life of action that Christ is oftentimes calling us to live. They looked like they were ready to go. And the metaphor here is pretty powerful, because when Jesus talks about having faith, it's kind of like, man, you look good, you have everything that you need to appear as though you have fruit, but you have no fruit. And the reality of it is, if you have no fruit, then in essence, you really are doing anybody no good. And so the idea here that Christ is bringing to the table is live the life. Don't just pretend it. Don't just, sort of show the outward appearance of it. Live the life. And I oftentimes go back to this, that God is a God of action. He's somebody that wants us to get out there and to live with a whole heart and with our whole mind. And I can tell you this, it's some pretty powerful stuff. Now, if you'd like to know more about this very story, you can go to CalvaryChapelSignalHill.com. You can go into the archives, and it's one of probably about 10,000 studies that's available to you for free, where you can listen to the full teaching. Anyway, I hope this was useful to you guys. It's a little bit longer of a video, but I hope it was beneficial. God bless you guys. We love you. Keep reading the word, and I can't wait to come back to you with some of the new summaries.